if you dare.
I'm your pizza man, I'm your pizza man. Pizza man. So you liked it?
So the next time you are hungry for a pizza in a pan, don't forget to call your favorite pizza man. $12.50, please.
House 4, the last but certainly not the least. Or is the least?
No, it is the least.
Yeah.
Definitely the least. Holy fuck.
What a step down. You can see the burnt body better in that than you can see in the actual movie.
Yeah, what
the picture on the back. Anyway, okay, so if you wanted to know what happened with Roger Cobb from House 1...
It wasn't this. There's a different Roger Cobb in this.
If you want to know, don't watch House 4. Just make up your own conclusions. House 4 follows Roger Cobb, who has inherited yet another house, and...
It's been in his family for a long time.
It's been in his family for a long time.
And he's never heard of a magical house before.
He's never heard of a magical house before. It's clear when you watch this that this was not written with Roger Cobb in mind. They just changed the name with this other character because it has nothing to do with the character.
Replace Roger Cobb.
Because he's got a new family in this that is not the same as the family in the other one. He doesn't acknowledge that the other family exists. He's got a wife and a daughter now.
Doesn't acknowledge the first movie happened at all. He's not the same character at all.
Well, I mean, to be fair, there's no... He doesn't have to mention the events of the first one, but
they
certainly...
would leave an impact, I'm sure, especially if Magical House was coming up.
Yeah, you'd think that would be involved a little bit. But that's like, it's not a small thing, so forget for that he had a wife and a son. That was the whole point of the first one, to rescue his son.
I don't think I have a son, I have a daughter, right?
And he went to a ghostly dimension to save his son from Ghost Knob. And I guess he doesn't exist anymore, I don't know.
I don't even think he's a writer anymore. Apparently he tinkers around with things like projectors. That's what he always does.
Yeah, he's an inventor. That's the thing he did.
Fuck. I can't imagine. There's no info on whether they just, got him for this movie and decided to make it Roger Cobb, but if they wrote this with him in mind, the person who wrote it had no idea what happened in the first movie.
It wasn't with him in mind at all.
It couldn't have been. It's too stupid.
No, because they don't acknowledge any of the first events, so I mean, there's absolutely nothing that relates to the first one. The only thing anyone could have been aware of when they put him in it is just that his name is Roger Cobb. He was played by that guy. That's the only continuity.
Maybe I should have given him the house.
He's got this stepbrother, and he talks to him about how he made a promise to their dad not to sell this property. And it's
rundown piece of shit
house. And they talk about all these great memories they had with their dad, and it's like, oh, well, they can't have been that great because he was raised by his aunt. So he wasn't raised by his dad anyway.
Like this isn't the same character.
Almost. But all this is kind of a moot point because Roger dies.
Because he's not gonna be in the majority of this movie. Fuck that.
Brought him back to die, blows the fuck up. But they do something that they don't do in all these Bring Them Back Just to Die. He at least appears sporadically throughout some other things.
But it's definitely way less of a shoot for him. A couple more days.
They probably couldn't afford to keep him for very long.
Yeah.
It's clearly very low budget.
It'd be really insulting to anyone who's like, oh wow, Roger Cobb's back in the House movies. Like if they really liked House 1, they came back to this. Alright. Why is it he with a completely different family? He's dead now. Alright.
And then they turned it off. They turned it off before it got really bad, though, so they were probably spared.
This movie tries to do the same thing as the first one, be serious and then have these comedic things start coming in. this is how you do it wrong.
So terrible.
It is.
He's in a coma, I guess, but then the life support is pulled and then he dies. And the wife and daughter, who is now paralyzed, they move into this house because I guess Roger decided, they wanted to keep his...
It's really important to him that they live in this shit house. He didn't want to fucking live in when he was alive. He's like, no, we're just gonna go there once in a while. I'm not fucking living that shithole. She goes, I think Roger would have wanted us to live in here after he died.
The whole thing was just that he didn't want to sell it because he made a promise to his dad, who made a promise to his grandfather that they wouldn't sell it. But his stepbrother wants to buy it, or wants him to sell it, or whatever. And Roger's got a great comeback. Well, you gotta live with that hat.
You, on the other hand, have to live with that hat.
Comedy stylings of Roger Cobb.
Yeah, that's why he didn't write comedy books. I mean, he doesn't write books at all anymore, never mind.
But according to the back, it was just a summer house, and I can't be asked to go look and see if that was actually what it was, a summer house, or his dad actually owned it, whatever. But anyway, if it was just a summer house, that's all they gotta keep it as. They don't have to move in there. We can only assume they had to sell the other house because they had to spend all their money on medical bills. Which, of course, you would move into this piece of shit house that needs all of these repairs, which is not handicap accessible at all. Like, this is a death trap for their daughter.
This is horrible. Everything about this stupid house is horrible for their daughter in a wheelchair, which, by the way, she got her a wheelchair from like the 50s. What the fuck was that? She's like, don't worry, I spent a good $10 at a yard sale on your wheelchair, honey. That's not important. Anyway, here's your shit house, which is not wheelchair friendly. Nothing about this is a good idea. It'd be like, I'm gonna put behind the welfare of my daughter. She can go fuck herself. We're moving into this garbage house because my dead husband really liked it and made a promise to his dead dad.
Surely if she sold this other house, she could have bought a house that was in better condition than that to keep and still had some money left over.
She had a buyer who wanted it, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like, and what did she do? Like, what was her occupation, the mother? We don't know.
Yeah,
all we see is her
nothing.
doofing around the house the whole time. It's like, well, no wonder you're broke.
Yeah, no matter what her occupation is, even if it's something she can maybe work from home at, which I really doubt in the middle of this desert, shit in nowhere, nothing even close to her. I don't know what the fuck she'd be doing working at home in this place, but she's not doing anything, and she's having to devote all her time to this stupid house, no matter what her job is. It's like, yeah, everything about this was a bad idea.
You know what I love is there's a scene where the wife is laying in bed and she's looking at these pictures of Roger. And it's this kind of sad scene where it's like, oh, she's mourning her husband and she's looking at them. And one of the pictures is them on like a go-kart or something, and he's doing this like faux scared face, like, ah! Like, you'd think if your husband died in a car accident, maybe that's the worst picture to keep up of him to look at. I love how disgusted you are with this movie.
There's so many problems I have just with them moving in this house in the first place. Because she turns the water on and it doesn't even work right. It's got gunk coming from it.
Excuse me, that's ghost gunk. She would have known
ghost
that was
gunk.
Happen.
There's
ghost
windows broken. The place is probably not even insulated nicely.
It probably should have been condemned, honestly.
It's a piece of shit. There's like, the floor is like paper thin, as we learn way later in the movie. So apparently at any point her daughter could have crashed through the floor in her wheelchair and died. Like, she was trying to murder her daughter. It would have made more sense if she hated her daughter, and that's why they moved here.
They have a scene where the daughter falls down the stairs because
surprise, this is a shitty house to be in a wheelchair.
Yeah, there's some goons who are trying to chase them off to buy the house, and we'll get to that in a second, but she would have fallen down the stairs anyway. I mean, that's like a terrible... How did she get up there? Her mom had to carry her like
has to very awkwardly drag her up these stairs
like
every
a giant
night.
Sack of potatoes. That's how she transports her up and down the stairs.
Every day and morning. That's how it goes, because there's no way else for her to get her up and down those.
But you know, at least the daughter has some friends to play with.
Oh, yeah. There's there's no one near that shithole. Never mind. But then, like, when they hold a yard sale, everyone's by to see the garbage they have. I don't understand that one. Everyone's like, oh man, did you hear that yard sale in the middle of nowhere? We gotta go check that out.
My father believed that house was magical.
Roger, there are a lot of words that I could use to describe that house, but magical is not one of them.
The house is built over an ancient Indian spring, healing spring.
Try to figure out the logic of this.
There's an exposition scene about this, but it's not great.
From the Native American who lives in a Christian church, because why not?
Look, don't stereotype. They're Christian Native Americans. Don't even.
Except that he's going on about ancient native things, so
well,
whatever.
He's not an ancient native. Well, he is kind of ancient.
He's going on about their things, like, oh, we got our ancient springs, and I believe in that. Maybe he believes in both. I don't know.
So here's the story. Roger's great-great-grandfather or something, I don't know. Anyway, he married this Native American shaman daughter or something, and they inherited this land, and it had the healing spring on it, and then the white man took over, and they poisoned all of their spirits with progress.
But then the white man came, and my people were driven out, their spirits sucked dry by the white man's poison. The white man had a name for it, and he called it progress.
So they put a seal over the spring and built a house on top of it.
So they said, fuck you guys, you don't get our spring anymore. Sealed.
Yeah. And then the old man basically, he might as well have said, anyway, that's a moot point because your husband's soul is just trapped there. Didn't really have to do with the spirit, the spring, but
Why?
I guess that relates into some other things, maybe. There's two things that are going on here. There's the healing spring, which you could say has mystical properties and is sort of protective. Well, it does have mystical properties, but maybe that's why there's spirits there that are sort of protective, which there's some things that go into that. But then there is Roger's spirit, which is also trying to protect them. So you got the two things that are protective, and yet you have scenes of spirits doing things to fuck with them where you're like, where does this come into play?
Yeah, it doesn't flow with the fucking story they tell at all. The house just fucks with them for the first part of the movie because that's how it was written.
Yeah, like they have the scene with the pizza, which is the most egregious example of this is not protective spirits.
I'm your pizza man, I'm your pizza man. And I'm delivering pizza pie. I'm your pizza man, I'm your pizza man. So the next time you get hungry for a pizza, you're not bad.
Don't forget to eat your favorite pizza, man.
The pizza man comes in and sings this fucking earworm that gets stuck in your head, which was written by the director, by the way. You can credit him for that soundtrack piece.
It's kind of a thing you look at and you're like, wow, am I really watching this?
And the pizza comes to life and starts singing the Pizza Man tune, and she stabs the pizza. She's covered in sauce. So they have the pizza scene where she's gonna kill the pizza, and they also have the scene where the shower turns to blood.
Which she barely even notices. I love it. Because it's like blood and she's not even looking, and then she sees a message on the mirror and gets freaked out by a jump scare, and then it's gone.
Then it's gone. But not to worry. This is the most shocking shower scene since Psycho, making this the deadliest house yet.
Making this. So, okay, if you want to see the most shocking shower scene since Psycho, it's a woman showering, blood coming from the shower head for a bit, and her not reacting to it because she doesn't know. She towels off, puts blood all over her towel, and then gets to the mirror and goes, oh, there's a message on it.
You know, the beginning of that scene could have been creepy. The payoff wasn't good. But when it starts coming out and she doesn't notice that the water's turned to blood, that's creepy. Where it's like, oh, ew, oh, there's blood all over her. But then it doesn't amount to anything. So it's like, oh,
and luckily she's clean within a jump cut.
But, you know, it was ghost blood.
And, like, what about the scene where it tries to get her to stab her daughter?
Yeah, I don't know.
That was protective spirits, was it?
There's very few instances where the spirits are trying to protect them. Which, I mean, maybe it's more than one. I have no idea.
Well, too, like, it doesn't make sense even the way it presents it, because she goes in, her daughter gets grabbed through the bed, she proceeds to stab the shit out of the bed with the knife she gets, and then is like gonna make one more stab, and then her daughter's there, and she's like, oh, I almost stabbed my daughter!
With the ghost knife.
And then the ghost knife disappears too. It's like, so if she stabbed that time, would she have killed her daughter? Luckily all the other ones were fake.
Look, it wouldn't have worked because there's a healing spring, so she wouldn't have died.
Healing spring. That's why Roger didn't die.
Oh, he wasn't in the house.
In the house.
In the house!
Oh, no, canceled in the house.
Wouldn't it be great if this was like an urban sequel? You know, it'd be like House 4, in the house!
Yeah.
Boys in the house.
The ghosts are really kind of a moot point here. I mean, they're trying to protect them, but they are not really the villains. There's some creepy stuff.
Trying to protect them when they're not trying to kill them.
When they're not trying to kill them. It's really shaky what's really going on here. But the whole point is that Roger's stepbrother is trying to buy this house because he is working for a
Captain Planet villain.
All of a sudden, it just turns into a Captain Planet episode out of nowhere. It is so jarring. Like, we were talking about how 3 was kind of like disjointed with the comedy stuff, but like nowhere near what this is, because it seems entirely out of something different.
3 is like, it flows somehow better than this.
Well, it just seems like it turns into like a kid's thing all of a sudden.
Yeah, it's like a kid's show, but with swearing thrown into it, so you're like, who the hell is this trying to appeal to?
And you come back and you tell me that a 12-year-old girl in a wheelchair kicked your ass? No, a dog bit me in the ass! I don't give 2 shits about your ass! It's my ass that I worry about if I don't get that bitch out of the house!
They have their toxic waste, which just looks like the ooze from Ninja Turtles 2.
Yeah.
And they print non-toxic waste on it.
Non-toxic. That is like, I'm sure that must have happened in a Captain Planet episode, that they just put non-toxic on their toxic waste things. Like, it's so stupid.
They might as well have said they're going back in time to pollute the Grand Canyon. Because it makes about as much sense.
Always my favorite.
My own time machine. Paid Blake plenty for it, too. But it's gonna be our passport to big bucks and unlimited garbage dumping.
Somebody's been dumping garbage in the Grand Canyon for years, and nobody noticed?
Tell them about the secretary, because she's in there in the fucking line where the barrels are just coming off the line with just toxic waste. Like, that's all they produce, I guess. I don't know what they actually do besides make waste. Yeah. But then there's this fucking girl in a midriff shirt and a hard hat. Like, what am I doing here?
I don't know. It's because the boss, the little guy, Mr. Grosso, wanted to have her around.
Grosso! For fuck's sake!
I have an appointment with Mr. Grosso. Mr. Grosso.
Captain Planet!
Can you guess what his main attribute is?
Grosso.
And
the kids, it's fucking Grosso!
His plan makes about as much sense as a Captain Planet villain plan is, because he makes this toxic waste, and he has enlisted the stepbrother to get rid of it for him. So, the brother has a plan. He knows that there is a whole cave thing, the spring, which apparently is a cave underneath this house. I don't know how he knows this, but he knows this. And so he's like, look, let me get this house, and then you can dump all of the toxic waste underneath the house. Because apparently, they can't figure out where in this desert in the middle of nowhere to dump all of their toxic waste.
Except this house.
It has to be under this house, which they're going to demolish anyway. They don't even want to keep the house there.
Fucking place that makes sense has to be under that house, or we're fucked. We have no other options.
It would make a little more sense if they wanted to keep the house up and buried under there, even though it's still stupid. But they want to demolish it into it. So it's like, why don't you just dig a hole and then dump it in there?
No, have to get rid of everything and then put non-toxic dump site. Guess that'll fool everyone.
Well, fool's the world's worst FBI agent. They have an FBI agent who goes undercover as their maid.
Because, you know, if she's trying to investigate Grosso Industries, or whatever the fuck it's called, she goes, oh, you know what I really need to do? Pretend to be her maid.
Yeah, like, they don't even know that she's related to anything that's going on there, and she's not doing anything investigative worthy. The most she does is maybe, you can talk to me about your problems.
Uh-huh.
That's it. Maybe she wasn't hot enough to be a secretary there, so she couldn't go undercover because she couldn't wear the midriff shirt. So she had to go to the nearest building and then maybe pretend that that's where she works so they wouldn't arouse suspicion.
She's the FBI's best man, according to the movie.
Best man, who is knocked out immediately, and they just cover her with some, like, bushes to pretend that she's not there? What? Does that mean she won't wake up?
Her name's Clump, by the way. She's part of the hit team Clump and Seal.
Clump.
Burn a clump. FBI.
The stepbrother thought he got the house, but apparently he didn't, and then it went to Roger's wife. So because she won't sell, he decides he's going to send his goons to scare her paraplegic little girl and try and get them out of the house that way. And they're bested by a lamp that comes to life. That's one of the few instances where the spirits are actually protecting them, even though she falls down the stairs anyway, so way to fuck up that one.
They could have been a little more proactive and just killed those guys, but they're, no, you have to like run into our knives or something. We're not going to do something that'll just kill you, but we'll put knives in front of you, and if you run into them, it's your fault.
Yeah, we'll wait and kill them later. You're not doing that.
Yeah, it's okay if we do it later.
Yeah.
And they're wearing a fly mask and a snake mask when they do this, which plays into something stupid later.
Don't leave me hanging on this one.
Alright, well, when they come back, since they had a fly and snake mask, it makes their heads actually a snake and an ant.
Inaccurate, which is clearly the worst part about this.
Yeah, but why? Like, it bothers me just because you know what they're trying to do, but apparently they didn't have a mask to correspond, like one of these things, or like, a bug's close enough. There'd been something, sort of, if it had been the right bug at least, because like, oh yeah, because they wore those earlier, it made them actually those. But it's like, I don't know, I guess the house kind of forgot and was like, I think you're some kind of bug, make them an ant. But anyway, then they shoot each other, which is kind of funny for a second, and then it goes forever.
Yeah, that was my problem with the scene, that they just keep, like, killing each other over and over again. It's like, look, you only need this to happen once. It's not like we're like, oh, maybe they'll make it, or that we care. It's like, it just keeps going. Like, it's like, oh, they're dead. Oh, wait, they're not. Oh, now they're shooting each other again. Okay.
Oh, but before they die, there's a scene with the stepbrother guy, yelling at them, berating them, and it's like straight out of like a Power Rangers type show. They're like the two bumbling moron henchmen they send out every time. They come back and fail. It's exactly like one of those scenes, except he yells fuck sometimes, you know? Yeah. It'd be like if Rita Repulsa just yelled fucking whatever those guys' names were. Those two. Skull? Well, she didn't say Balkan Skull, you know, that dog face guy and the blue ogre man. I forget their names. It's been too long since I've seen Power Rangers. You know, those two, the ones she usually sent.
Tweedledee and Tweedledee.
Yeah.
You fucking idiots! Oh, I got a fucking headache! Ah! Give me the fucking Power Rangers!
And you come back and you tell me that a 12-year-old girl in a wheelchair kicked your ass? No, no, no! A dog bit me in the ass! I don't give two shits about your ass! It's my ass that I worry about if I don't get that bitch out of the house!
I mean, even though there's the swearing in some parts of it, it barely seems rated R. It seems like a made-for-TV movie, even though it's not. I mean, the violence is very toned down. The most blood is in that shower scene, but it's not from any wounds or anything, it's just the blood from the shower. I mean, there's the pizza stabbing, it's got pizza sauce everywhere. But there's like, it's very, not very violent, except maybe where they're shooting each other.
It's got a gross out scene from El Grosso.
El Grosso, yeah, it's got
because he's got a phlegmatic machine, because he has a terrible phlegm buildup all the time. And so he puts that in his throat and it sucks it out into a cup. And then he goes to the stepbrother guy's like, to ensure your loyalty, I'm gonna pour this phlegm down your throat.
Like, that'll ensure his loyalty somehow?
Like, I don't understand this, because he says something like, oh yeah, I'm not gonna roll over to the cops or anything. I know you won't, because I'm gonna pour phlegm down your throat. I think that would make him turn over on you fucking idiot. Oh, no, I can't betray him now that he poured disgusting phlegm down my throat.
He could have just said, like, look, I have proof that you killed your stepbrother.
Yeah.
I have that dirt on you, so you can't go to them. Because they do.
Yeah, that's something that makes sense, though.
Yeah, because it turns out him and the other goons, they shot out the tires and then they killed Roger, and it was all planned by them so that they could get in the house. And the ghosts show this to her, and it's like, why weren't they a little more proactive with this? So that, you know, they wouldn't have to die, but whatever.
Yeah. I love too, the stepbrother is willing to kill his brother, but he's more hesitant about killing his wife and daughter.
She's a woman. She's my sister-in-law.
Oh, she's a woman. I don't know about this.
Yeah.
Did you kill your stepbrother? Like, that you apparently grew up with?
Yeah, fuck him, but I don't know about them.
Don't try and pretend he has a moment of conscience. Like, what?
Yeah, like, you have to kind of present it the whole way. Like, maybe if you had made it so he wasn't the one involved with his brother's death, but you did, so. Just
a very insulting movie is really what it is. It's very insulting to your intelligence. It's insulting to the first House movie to pretend that this is a sequel to it.
Yeah, like, there's some performances that aren't bad, like mostly the main woman.
She was good. The mom
was
good.
That's what I was saying. She was good. She's clearly in a different movie than some of this other stuff, like the El Grosso crap.
Yeah, well, she plays it straight, and she's likable. Like, you like the character. She just has nothing to work with, really.
Movie. Like, if this had been a cleverly written haunted house movie, she would have been fine. But unfortunately, it was this mess. Fuck. The little girl, though, sometimes she got my nerves. Like,
I think she was solid for the most part. There was
some parts, but others she was a little. What the fuck is your problem?
Oh, gross! Anchovies? Yuck! Take them off, please.
By the end of it, the bad guys go after them in the house, and they end up burning the house down. And the mom rescues the daughter from it, and the healing spring ejaculates out of the house. The house blows its load. The
Housegasm.
The house completely blew its load all over them, which had the healing properties.
Disgusting.
Grosso is like, that's gross.
Yeah. Alright, I know I just poured phlegm down a guy's throat, but that's too much for me. Let's leave.
And then the daughter is healed from this healing spring. The stepbrother, he thinks that he's talking to Grosso, and he confesses to the FBI what he's done, because, I don't know, the ghost did.
Yeah, like in a cut, it suddenly changes to Clumpin' Crew. She's like, I'm the FBI's best, because the house cheats for me, I guess.
Yeah, what was she planning before that? She had no plan. She tried nothing, and she was all out of ideas.
Yeah.
But then the major twist, Officer Cobb, da-da-da-da, pew, blasting off again.
Roger was an alien the whole time.
I think that we knew that's how the House series would end.
Believe it or not, I'm walking on air. I never thought I could feel so free.
It's like, okay, are they gonna move back into that house? Or the seal's now open, so are all the spirits
It's
free?
okay now.
Is this actually like a magical healing spring that can heal anyone?
The native guy stopped caring about it too, which was funny at one point.
He's like, let it go, whatever.
Yeah, it's alright. But then he comes in at the end anyway and just breaks the police line like, whoa, he's native, let him through. He must know what's going on. I know about the supernatural ejaculation.
He was there to provide the soundtrack on a boombox.
Yeah, now that the movie's done. And I have to record over that crap.
Look, they have a fucking healing spring. Could they not share this with the world? This could heal anyone. It could heal someone who could not walk.
It healed the crippled girl by the end, so this is like... I guess it was all worth it putting her in danger constantly by moving in this shitty house. You knew you'd get rewarded in the end by the house gas and making her legs work again.
It was burnt down. They have no home now. They were kind of screwed in the end. Really, what did they get out of this? They got a dead dad.
Yeah, but at least Roger blasted off again at the end.
Eat this, pizza man! Mom? You happy now? No more anchovies!
So, how would you rate the House movies?
2, 1, 3, 4.
What? Mine's pretty much the same, but I don't know. I have to disagree and say that 4 was better than 3. Like, ostensibly the script is shit. I mean, compared to the third one, but I would say it's more rewatchable because it's terrible, but it's laughably so. Like, I don't know. I would say 4 was more rewatchable than 3.
4 is a bigger insult than 3 since it brings back Roger and makes him have a different family and just not acknowledge anything about what he did in the first one.
I mean,
or his son, and they kill him off. Like, just, that's irritating.
It's so shit I can't even really consider it the same character. I can't,
it's
like...
but it's all irritating that they pretend it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly insulting, but I feel like it was more rewatchable than 3, because 3 had some really slow parts.
It's insulting, though, with the grosso shit. Like,
oh, it is insulting, but it's
so
stupid.
Yeah, but I don't know. To me, it treads too close along the line of being irritatingly stupid rather than amusingly so. Whereas, like, all the stuff in 3 I thought was pretty damn funny.
Your mileage may vary on this. If you look at that pizza scene from this one, I think you'll know if this is your type of movie or not. It's definitely bad, but I think laughably so. So, overall, House 1 and 2 are genuinely good horror movies. You should go... I thought you were pointing something out. Oh, okay. You should check House 1 and 2 out, like, if you just want to see legitimately good horror movies. If you're So Bad It's Good movie fan, House 3 and 4 are definitely terrible and have some laughable moments in it, so I can't say I don't recommend this, but it is insulting, so take what you will from
that.
to
see Captain Planet with some swearing, it's got some of that trash in it.
Well, that about sums it up.
Housegasm.
I'm your pizza man, I'm your pizza man, pizza man. I don't know the lyrics even though it's really short. I'll just fade out on this cause it's going on too long. Pizza man, pizza man, pizza man.
You already faded out, fuck off.
Okay.
Time machine. Paid Blight plenty for it too, but it's gonna be our passport to big bucks and unlimited garbage dumping.